Hey, muy buenas noches, everyone. I hope everybody's doing well, blessed, and enjoying family. Bueno, mi gente, first and foremost, again, muchísimas gracias for you guys' kind words, prayers, and your amazing support. De corazón se los agradezco. And before I get into the story, do forgive me if I sound more slow than usual, but it's just one of those days again where everything flared out. But most importantly, my lungs, my the thrombosis, and it's just hard, to get my breathing right. But palabras, palabras, so aquí estoy. Bueno, to get into the story at hand, today I want to talk about tigres from the avenues. And, you know, if we had to mention someone to the definition, to the dot of what it is, someone power hungry and just allowing power to corrupt them, feel untouchable, and just those things that, like I said, to the dot, describe a snaky person, right? It would have to be theater. Like I told him backstories, at one point I had not gonna say pleasure, but the dishonor of being in Palm Hall with theater. So I personally seen his attitude when it came to camaradas. And it was nothing of, making a homie. It was about breaking them, removing them. To him, you know, dead weight had no building. It was dead weight had to go. He didn't even give camaradas the opportunity. For example, in Palm Hall, excuse me, he was in charge of the rutina. And for example, he would give camaradas 3 yards, just 3 yards for you to keep up with the whole yard because he wanted camaradas to be working out the whole yard with exception of the last half hour to pass word and amapiles around and go back in, because to him that was the definition of soldado, which I gotta give it to him, he was a workout fiend, but he held his, but he just wasn't, for example, the yards that I upholded for certain pilis. It was well understood, that camaradas, even if they came from the linea for a riot or whatever reason they were back there for, you have to come to the understanding that some of them are out there doing the rutina, but they're doing bars, dips, push-ups. Ain't nobody on the yard doing calisthenics. So from one moment to the next, you expect them to do 3+ hours of straight rutina. Then it just has to be tolerated, in my eyes, for them to get into shape. That's why it was do what you can. Don't stand there though. You can't do no more. Run in place, and the minute you feel a little wind come back, pa abajo otra vez, right? But Tigre wasn't like that. He permitted 3 yards, and if you didn't get right at the third yard, then you were dead weight. And he was taking your career. He was removing you. Now again, I'm not gonna speak about the homie, from I believe he was from 41st, but he went back there and he was a skinny vato. But again, he was on that linea. Do his thing. Just because we're on the linea don't mean, you're 100% mandated to be in top shape, right? You could go about your program just when business calls. You best be there regardless, you know. But anyways, I remember the first yard homie went out there and he couldn't hold it, you know. He couldn't even run in place because he would start throwing up. So that was his first warning. The second yard, he ran a lot in place, but he didn't throw up. So he was he was gaining traction, you know, when it came to aligning himself with the rutina. The third yard, I don't really know what happened to the homie. I believe he had a cramp or something, but he stopped, and that was his downfall. To Tigre, that was his third strike, and the yard after that, he had a couple camaradas go ahead and whack him. Because again, dead weight, they didn't have no discipline. They weren't worth taking the time to educate them to form him up. It was easier for Tigre to prove his point, you know, yo soy el más acá y allá, by removing them. Again, minimizing camaradas, right? Just showing how, I gotta give it, you know, he was one of the first Billies that started showing them true colors when it came to how they thought of campoleros or sureños, camaradas. You know, he was real open with it. You know, you do as I say or bailastes. You know, and at the same time in this yard, Chivo, Frank D was there and he would make it easier, you know. He used to like provoking camaradas to the point to see how if you would disrespect them or say something out of term or even give him a look to make him feel uncomfortable to have you be taken away from the program. And it was like a little thing where I believe they felt bored. So to them it was an amusement to see how many camaradas careers they could take. So again, it's a perfect inner look for those that haven't been there, thinking that these individuals are gonna respect you just for the fact that you're in there trying to earn your points, you know. There's no winning with them. But back to Tigre, you know, at this time, it was well known that Tigre was politicking against his own homeboys. And when I say they're his own homeboys, I'm talking about the Aguirres, you know, and Boxer and them, which they were all Bealies, but they were all from avenues, right? But again, Tigre was just one of those that none of that had meaning to him. You know, he was who he was, and he was going to do what he was going to do, regardless who he stepped on. You know, it was well known. You know, I've always been a good listener, and I don't mean to sound like I'm you know, but listening is just don't take an individual to sit there and hear someone out, but also be well aware of what's going around you. For example, you could be right here holding a torica with somebody, but your ear could be paying attention to other individuals' conversations. I don't know if I'm making sense, you know. And catch, especially when you're around Billy's, and you could actually pick up of what's going on, so you're smart enough not to get involved, you know. So it was well spoken amongst them that, and this was from Corcoran, and later on, as I heard in the Bay, but at this time it was Tigre wanted to take over avenues, and he didn't want to share LA County. But these are his own homeboys, right? And I remember when things really hit the fan was when he had people under his mesa. I remember it was Chato Clavo, A police banky trooper had him out there trying to suppress certain workers or areas that already belong to other Billies, his homeboy Billies, right? The ones that, in my eyes, if you're from the same hood and you reach that pedestal, best to work together to make a strong alliance than be at each other's throats. But Tigre was some one man army. He didn't really care what anybody thought. It's just he would betray you that easy. That's how we later come to find out. When things hit the fan was when we heard that the Aguirres killed Clavo for working in their territory, and I guess they tried to align him, and he said Chales, he was on the Tigre, and things happened the way they happened. Now, speaking about this, cause I don't remember all the camarada's name, but at that time, Tigre did assign me with a task to carry an amapil back to Corcoran, and or at least to help it get to Corcoran, cause at this time I was in Tehachapi, right? But as you guys know, Tehachapi Shu usually they move up to Corcoran for certain reasons. They always end up in Corcoran Shu. Tehachapi was like a real low Shu. It moved up to Corcoran and the Bay. So, anyways, as well as he had me passing on my peel around in Tehachapi, or to the pili in Tehachapi Shu tea, and for him to spread it around, which he did within time. And I remember in this amapil, there was 20 of his own homeboys from his neighborhood on the lista. They just happened to be under the Aguirres and Boxer. I remember there was a real talked about name in the avenues, Jojo, excuse me, Kilo, Muppet. But in this list, I don't remember them all, but I remember with Chopper, Crook, I believe. And it was 20 of them that Tigre had put on the list on Dulce Duro, right? So, now, again, this is a perfect example of the message I'm trying to put out. When I say, when you have these old individuals that get out there and they're trying to preach about prison, be smart, man. Be smart, don't bite into it. Again, I'm not stating for you to go sideways in any way, shape, or form, but be smart. Those individuals that glorify what's going on in prison with these cats, they don't have no love for you. This is a perfect example. They're hood homies, but they're creeping other hood homies just for the fame, just for the disculpen, just for the recognition that they have that power over them, that they're más chingón than the next man, even though they're supposed to be equal, right? Again, the Aguirres knocked Tigres soldados. Tigres knocked a lot of the Aguirre soldados. Like I mentioned, I'm talking about 20 individuals on the Tigre list. And I don't remember exactly how much they were on the Tigre side from the Aguirres. But, within time, I hit Pelican Bay, at this time, Psycho, and I'm pretty sure Pee Wee and them, they were well aware of everything, for everything that surfaced up in Pelican Bay. For example, at one point, Tigre was really tight with Guate, Huayno, Florencia, Kings, and not to mention Stomp, and all them Billies that were at one point were stomping them that were from Haslett. And I remember that Tigre was sold up with tablas, I believe, and you don't really hear a lot about tablas and bubble, but they bumped heads for a while because of Tigre. Because Tigre was striving for control. As at this time, you know, it was a vacuum of them trying to seize control, trying to be the, entre comillas, godfather, right? After Joe Morgan. And, so he betrayed it eventually, Cuate, and he started clipping his soldados. I'm talking about before Cuate had to take that dive, or they made him take that dive. You know, he wanted to push all the older ones. So this is his character, right? Just picture him. The vatos that were back there for 20 years, egg plus time. To him, they were dead weight. He needed to start something that was gonna take care of this dead weight. To him, Cuate was dead weight because he used to politic too much. He used to cause chaos. But at the same time, that's exactly what he was doing. You know, rename everything, restructure it, put him as el machingón because he needs to pump that ego. Now, I'm not going to sit here and tell you that he was a tecato because as far as I know, I never heard of Tigre using. Moving, but not using. But he didn't need to, right? He was already addicted to power, minimizing people. So I heard, he got out and he came back and he started politicking now against Boxer. And then at one time he was trying to support gangsters. Then he had to pull out and allow a gangster to go through his headache. It's just one of those individuals, that he didn't hold no type of sympathy towards anybody. Now, when I speak about him politicking, just imagine all the camaradas he got hit for no reason. But his ego and to prove a point. Again, it is why I always talk about, be smart, man. If someone gets out and tries to put in your head, you gotta earn your certificate, you gotta go to college, and they direct you to go inside prison and earn that respect with one of these individuals, tell him, man, you know what? You gotta give me about 5 feet and I'm gonna rotate tires on you because he has no love for you. You see it time and time again. These individuals, they completely have no sympathy for camaradas. Whatever you think that you've done in the streets, if it's not for one of them, they don't want to hear it. Whenever you have an issue to uprise, that you're having problems with, you bring it up to their attention, you can't question it. M business is M business, right? Sometimes for you to even speak up about an issue with a carnal, next yard you're gonna get whacked. It's just that simple. Now it's even worse, right? You can't even enjoy visits every weekend because you're gonna put yourself and your family in the front line to do what they want, or you're through. So tell me what part, as one individual says, I seen a video that someone said, if it wasn't for these individuals, this and this is what be happening. I'm not gonna say this individual's name, but man, I'm just gonna say it like this, man. Get your head out their butt, because that might have been true someday, but Ain't none of that happening. Show me one thing they're doing for the raza now, besides using and abusing them, and disculpenme, but let's be sincere, and punking the raza, their families, threatening X and X thing. You know, Tigre fell from grace for his abuse of power. And, you gotta give it up for Chato, right? That he's the one that pulled the trigger and ended up whacking him and sealed his case. But have there somebody been on here to talk about what took place? Who betrayed Tigre? It was his own Celi. The one that was ride and die with him, which was Tablas. The minute Tigre left his cell, he started politicking because that's in their character, right? Now, I don't have much negative to say about Tablas besides, he does what they do, which is politic against, and politic is a fancy word for comadrear on one another, step on one another to become somebody. Please answer me this. When does politicking, comadrear, to become somebody, make a person a soldado? That for those people that call them legends, maybe the old timers at one point held their ground. But these guys now, it's just something that I can't see it. I disculpen. I held them in the utmost respects because it was a mandatory thing that as a sureño I was supposed to do, right? It was what we had to do. But, I don't know where this case went through. So I would just briefly touch on it through the surface, right? At one time, Tigre killed a girlfriend. But do you guys know about the niece, the nephew, and certain other family members that he had youngsters move on? And when they had to answer up for in LA County, when he was there, he himself put a hit on them to cover his butt. Tell me that's someone you gotta hold into to be admired as a teacher to our clecha, right? To our movement. Well, what it was, at least. Perdón. I'm trying my hardest with, and hopefully tomorrow I'm gonna try to see if my cousin's daughter that helps me with the videos helps me react to this video here in Mexico. And I want to prove to you guys that all that stuff they preach in the States, rules and regulation, guidelines, we're not to do this, we're not to do that, how they always feel they're above everything. And whatever they put out there don't apply to them. Right now there's a video, which, like I said, I'm going to put out tomorrow. So please stay tuned for it. I want to react to it. I want you guys to see it, not hear from me, cause, when I was out there piloteando whatever I did as manos y pies for these individuals, I always told all camaradas, you know what, in this, don't trust nobody. Be your own man, your own judge of things, Don't ignore people on the open, but don't trust nobody. And you know what? That includes myself. Just because I'm holding a position don't mean nada. Trust me as much as you could pick me up and throw me. As everybody else. It's a shame, but that's what prison is and has become, you know. Everybody trying to snake in politics to earn a name. So for those that have not been there, wise up, man. Love your homies. I've always said it. Love those that love you. Don't go into a snake pit where, you know what? You can be in a situation when, I'm just going to put it like this, man. You have stomach problems. So you're in your cell, you have to sit down. This individuals, they do unlock. There's going to be a camarada come in with palabra. So-and-so pili, next unlock, get out there. Whoever don't come out is through. But you can't. But they ain't going to hear your explanation. Do you want to go in and do something like that? Or you want to do something that's going to benefit those that are actually going to touch it hard for you. Those that have been in war for you with love. Again, not every individual is like this, but I mean, everybody holds tablas to the utmost, right? And at one point, he was pushing against Topo, Boxer, and was with Tigre. Then he jumped ships with Boxer, and look what happened. I don't think you guys have really touched on the surface of the damage a Boxer did to the organization, not only as a whole, but as the programming that was set up inside. I think it took a lot of good camaradas with them. But anyways, mi gente, like I said, I'm gonna try to react on this video where you could clearly see government go in. It was a casita. Go in, pick up feria, guns, and basically told the people that were there, they're gonna pop it, split. About 15, 20 minutes later, you literally see, and they say it real clear, that cholos, camaradas, I'm not gonna put their names out there but at one point, we were in Ceferezo together, so, I could tell you they're camaradas. They went up in there to pop the tiendita, right? Because, again, they have to give the government a little bit to allow them to keep working. And as always, camaradas, even in Mexico, we go in and do the dirty work because Apili wants to get that credit, right? But I want you guys to see if they took out the vatos that were in charge of the tiendita. They took out 4 women and 2 child. And again, that's okay. Cause they're in Mexico, right? But what happened is, don't rank out, no bajes bandera. Here in China, Rusia, donde sea, you have to follow our guidelines and be what we are. That only applies to camaradas. But again, I will be dropping that tomorrow. I just thought I would touch a little bit on Tigre. I apologize again. My breathing ain't right, is why it's very late. I wasn't going to do this, but I'm one of those individuals that I don't need to tell you. I give you my palabra. If you hear come on my boca, it's because my palabra is right behind it. So I couldn't rest knowing I had posted that I was going to be dropping this. So I thought I would. I got some other issues that I brought with Tigre, but please allow me to do a little studying because, again, I ain't on here to hurt nobody, right? My message could be put out without having to do that extra stuff. But with this said, I hope everybody had a blessed Father's Day along with families. I hope everybody's being blessed. Please stay true to yourself and loyal to your loved ones. But that's the message. Don't read into the other stuff. The message is that my love, my saludos, mis respetos, buenas noches.